I'd like to share in Alma 19 in the Book of Mormon a chiasmus that I found while studying Come Follow Me. At least I believe it's a chiasmus. So where a certain part of the text, what you read, let's say in line A, is going to match up later in that text, and then a B and a B and a C and a C in it. And then the middle part is the most important part of the text. So in Alma 19, in verse 30, it says, "And when she had done this, she took the king Lamoni by the hand, and beheld he arose and stood upon his feet." This is referring to King Lamoni's wife. This is when King Lamoni, his wife, and Ammon, all three fell to the ground. But what I love about this verse is that it says that she took him by the hand, and he arose and stood upon his feet. In verse 36, we read about Christ that we see that his arm is extended to all people who will repent and believe on his name. And I felt like those two verses went together because King Lamoni's wife reached her hand so Lamoni could rise, and Christ extends his arm for all people to repent and believe on his name. And then continuing in verse 31, it says, "And as many as heard his words believed and were converted unto the Lord." Going up from 36 in verse 35, it says, "And as many as did believe were baptized, and they became a righteous people, and they did establish a church among them." So not only do we have that they believed, but they were converted in verse 31. And to me, that conversion led to baptism and establishing a church in verse 35. In verse 32, "But there were many among them who would not hear his words, therefore they went their way." In verse 35, above from the previous 35, "And it came to pass that there were many that did believe in their words." So verse 35, "And it came to pass that there were many that did believe in their words." Now, sometimes you'll see this in chiasmus, where they actually are antonyms. So in verse 32, there were many that would not believe, and they left. And in verse 35, there were many that did believe. In verse 33, "It came to pass that when Ammon arose, he also administered unto them, and also did all the servants of Lamoni." So here he is preaching to them. In verse 34, "And behold, many did declare unto the people that they had seen angels and had conversed with them." So here the angels are conversing with them, and many people are proclaiming that. And then in verse 33, and this is going to be our main message, and it repeats it twice. "And they did all declare unto the people the selfsame thing, that their hearts had been changed." And continuing in verse 33, "that they had no more desire to do evil." And that's really what it means for our heart to be changed, is that we have no more desire to do evil. So you can see the structure here. This is a chiasmus, and how verse 30 and verse 36 say similar things. 31 and 35, 32, again 35, but it's before this one, 33, 34, and then right in the middle, we have this message that their hearts were changed and they had no more desire to do evil.